I'm going to be a bit honest. I don't quite remember how to set everything up. I mean, I know how to set things up. I just don't know what's the best way to do it, what's the best angle to do it at my new place, which is in ANYANG. Now, apparently there are sort of two ANYANGs or two halves of ANYANG. There is the ANYANG that's on line number 1, which is, I guess, the older one, which is, I guess a lot of it was developed in the 80s or possibly earlier. And then there's the newer ANYANG, which is along line number 4. And there are various parts of the newer ANYANG, like I guess it was developed more like in the 90s, but there are parts that are very recently developed, and that is where I live. In particular, when I was looking for a place to live, I wanted a newer building because apparently building codes changed a few years ago so that they had to use sturdier materials, more soundproof materials, stuff that I guess could potentially withstand earthquakes. Not that Korea is particularly known for earthquakes, but I guess that kind of material would absorb shocks of all kinds, including sound. I mentioned in the previous video that my problem before was that I had always lived in villas. Technically, this is an office tel, but I guess it is more of a hybrid. The word now, I guess, is apatel. So it's kind of a mix of like a family style apartment design and office tel. I don't know exactly what that means, but I have heard that office tels are a bit more sturdy and better designed, better built. If you notice, there are a lot of office tels that are actually like right next to or along really busy roads. So you'd think that they have to be able to absorb, shocks from buses and trucks passing by and stuff like that. In fact, there's another very new high-rise building in the middle of the newer ANYANG, which looks really ugly. And it's right at this huge intersection. So it must be very well built. The problem is that being right in front of an intersection, if you open your windows, I bet all you hear are traffic noises. Now, let me just say, this place is big. It has so many, I don't know if you can see in the background, there are so many drawers and cabinets, and there are closets that are empty because I don't have stuff to put in them. And this is the smallest type of unit in the complex. So while it would be nice to have a bigger one just because, I don't know what I would do with all the extra room. ANYANG is surrounded by mountains, and when I was living in Gangnam, I mean, there were actually mountains nearby, but I could not see them from anywhere where I lived. My amazing view from my Yuksam apartment was just of the huge, like the Gangnam Finance Center, just big buildings outside my window, which were actually in the way of where the mountains would be. So now I can see mountains. I can see, I guess, roughly 3 different mountain ranges from like my combined windows, which I think is super cool. It's also kind of creepy when it's like it rained this morning and you can't see the mountains because at this height I am up in the clouds. Korea is known for having very low clouds. Right now, in the beginning of the fall, we actually do get lots of high puffy clouds, but also, as in this morning, very low rainy clouds. There's been a lot of little things to get used to. I mean, the thing in Korea is that, so ANYANG is a suburb of Seoul. It's in Gyeonggi-do, but suburbs in Korea are kind of all the same, which is good and bad. It's bad because they have no distinct personality. It's good because you can tend to get everything you want no matter which suburb you live in. So for me, I got an E-Mart close by. A little further is a Home Plus, and a little further than that is a Lotte Mart and a Nucor Kim's Club. There are 2 different movie theater chains. There are some high-end buffets. And although there aren't really a lot of restaurants like in the immediate street surrounding where I live, just 1 block over is a ton of relatively cheap restaurants. I don't know, again, I've only been here for 2.5 weeks. I got a lot of adapting to do and kind of figure out what life here is going to be like. It's much more relaxing and calm, and I like working at home. So I guess we'll see what happens next.